Hi, Kerry here, host of Best of Us Investors. I recently did an interview with Brian McKill. He's a economics teacher for a high school group, and he asked me, why doesn't somebody do some videos on teaching new people how to invest in the stock market? And so I'm starting kind of on the top side, and I'm going to come down to the basics. What I want to talk about today is probably not just for beginners, but for anybody who wants to use a different method of investing, and that is invest in the long term. And so I'm going to go through in today's video how I pick stocks and the process I go through in order to decide where I want my money invested. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And at the end of the video, in fact, I'm going to come to the conclusion of this process, and I'm going to show you my full portfolio and what I'm currently invested in. And you'll have an understanding then when we get there as to why I'm invested as I am. So rather than show it at the beginning, which it will make no sense, but at the end it will. So stick with me. This is not financial advice. Don't get me wrong. This is just my form of sharing with you the knowledge I've acquired, the strategies I use, and how I try to beat the game, beat the Wall Street professionals at their own game. So we'll get right into this after I do this disclosure.
Best of Us Investors presents Kerry Griegmeyer.
First of all, I need to say that 50% of my portfolio is in what I call safe money. Safe money is not CDs or REITs or bonds. It's in fact in companies that I believe that are going to grow no matter what happens because they are in the position of power. Well, what do I mean by that? They have the most talent, the most experience, and the most money and the most data of any of the other stocks, and they are leaders in their field. They have built a moat around them so that it's almost impossible to take them out of their position of power. And they are Amazon, Google, Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, and NVIDIA. Those are what I call my big six. They consist of 50% of my portfolio, and as I gain as my portfolio grows, I keep them at 50%. As I invest more money, I keep them at 50%. I believe if I will do that, I will withstand any storm that comes because they can withstand the fiercest and the most forceful tornadoes, hurricanes, fires, you name it, tsunamis. They can withstand it, and I'll be fine. Now, I may face some dips, but I will be fine in the long run. So how do I invest that other 50%? Basically, I look for change. And I have created this graph, and you've probably seen it before, this chart. You've seen it before. But what it does is it outlines the stock market, the S&P 500, from the day of my birth, September 5th, 1944, through today. And it gives you a picture of what moved the market from the point of view of events, everything from World War II to the coronavirus and everything in between, and the liquidity. And that is the change in how our government distributes money. We were on a gold standard until President Nixon, in order to fund the Vietnam War, said we can't be limited by the amount of gold that we have for the amount of dollars we can print. We need to just be able to use that printing press and print money as we need it. And as in this chart, you'll see that is when that blue line started moving up in proportion to the amount of money the government needed to react to the situations that occurred. What are those situations? Well, the first one was the dot-com bubble, and then it was followed by the subprime crisis, and then that was followed by the corona crisis. Hell, we printed almost $9 trillion and distributed it to the citizens of the United States and the corporations of the United States just in 2020. And now we're trying to print another 3 trillion for Joe's packages. So that's the liquidity that feeds the system, feeds the stock market. Because as you received your $1,200 check, you probably bought some groceries and paid your rent and your car payment, and it trickled through your hands, and it ended up in someone's hands who said, I don't need this. I don't need it. So I think I'll invest it. And that is what creates the finances to finance the change. And then the companies step up and say, I can facilitate that change. And the biggest change we're dealing with, as I have said, is the coronavirus. So my belief is, and my focus has been, if the coronavirus is the biggest event of change, then healthcare has to be where I focus on. So how do you identify this change? Well, I think the easiest way is to watch the evening news. I watch Lester Holt. Every night, Lester Holt tells me what's changing in the world. And every night for the last 2 years, he's been talking about the coronavirus. So the coronavirus is the number one news item. So there, in effect, that is where the change is going to occur. He's basically telling me every night, we still have not corrected the broken healthcare system. We have to use everything that we have at our availability to correct the healthcare system. Well, what are the things that we have to correct our healthcare system? It's data. We have the data on every part of my life since the digital revolution, which is roughly in 1990. They know where I've been, what I do, what I eat, what I drink, what I buy, what I sell. They now track my body. They know what temperature my body is when I sleep at night, what my heart rate is during the day, how many steps I take a day. They monitor my heart. They monitor every part of my body, and that's in data. So who has that data? Well, I wear a Fitbit. Do you wear an Apple Watch? Fitbit's owned by Google. Who knows every move I make? They have a GPS in my car. That's tracked by Google. So if healthcare is going to change, and in order to change healthcare, they have to monitor carry. Who has that data? As I said, it's Apple, it's Google, it's Microsoft. They are the controllers of data. So they will be involved, trust me, in the healthcare change. Now, there are some parts of the healthcare change that they have no mix in. They don't understand molecules and antibodies and the integrals of how we find cures for the diseases that we are exposed to. They don't know how. Top 3 killers right now in the United States are heart disease, cancer, and the coronavirus. Apple, Google, and Microsoft are not going to solve those. But there are some biotech companies that are going to solve that. Do you know anything about genome sequencing? Do you know anything about genome therapy? How about protein sequencing? How about protein therapy? How about, do you understand how our body works? Do you understand the molecules that move through our bodies, that everything in our bodies are made of proteins, and that we have a map of our body in genome, and that genome can get out of whack through our ancestry of what we've inherited, and that of our environment, what we take in, and that's how cancer enters our body. That's how heart disease enters our body. Coronavirus, on the other hand, enters our body through protein. So if I can learn and be knowledgeable of genome and protein, I can change the healthcare system. If I know the companies that are going to do that, I can invest in the future, because Wall Street isn't worried about that right now. They're worried about inflation. They're worried about interest rates. They're worried about employment. They're worried about the supply chain. They don't know a thing about genome sequencing. They don't have time because they work on a 90-day basis. This isn't going to happen in 90 days, so they can't be involved with it, but I can. How do I get involved with it? I read. It's all out there. It's all there. You just got to take it. And then as I read, I find the people. It's like I should not in 1999 been looking for Apple. I should have been looking for Steve Jobs. I should not have been looking for Microsoft. I should have been looking for Bill Gates. Well, who are the people I should be looking for today? Here's a picture of some of them. These are the people who are going to change your life. So if you know who the people are, George Church, Jennifer Doudna, Emmanuel Carpentier, how about Tim Cook? How about the Apple guy or the Microsoft and, well, we talked about him, the Google boys, okay? And Jeff Bezos, he's kind of flying spaceships now, but his company is going to be deep into this. So I identify the people. I then identify the stocks that those people are affiliated with. And you see it here on this picture. This is where I choose to invest because this is going back to that chart I showed you earlier. These are the people who are going to facilitate the change. And if you can identify the change and the people and the companies before Wall Street, who's concerned about inflation right now, not about biotech, that's too risky for them. They're not ready to jump into that pool yet. If you can identify it, and then if you have the patience, just like if you would have had the patience to buy Apple and Microsoft at $1.75 in 1990, you'd be a multimillionaire. Now that took 30 years. Yeah, but this is moving faster. This is moving faster because it's your health. It's not the internet. It's not a new concept. It's your health. It's your lifespan. It's how long are you going to live? Or is it 10 days or is it 10 years? It's based on your life. This is the most important event that has happened in my 77 years, and I want to be in front of it. Now, the next element I thought of is, this isn't easy. This is Carrie trying to figure out to look into the future and figure this all out. Now, I get a lot of help from the books that I read. They help me identify the people, but then there are just so many stocks. And then there's all those numbers and how long will they be able to finance themselves and keep themselves afloat until they find the cure for cancer or until they get that therapy down. How long are they going to? I need help. Okay, so what I thought was I need to find a group of people that I can sit down with at least once a week and talk to. So I went to Starbucks. And I went to Starbucks at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I kind of looked around and I said, are you guys talking about the stock market? And they said, no, we're a prayer group. Oh, okay. So I went to Panera and I sat down with some people and I said, are you talking about the stock market and the future of this? No, we're having a meeting about our company. I couldn't find anybody. So I decided I was going to create my own group. I was going to reach out to people like you and say, hey, would you be willing to sit down with me at least once a week? And maybe we could build a clubhouse and we could talk on a regular basis about what's happening in the stock market and how we can put our heads together. You know, I read the Code Breaker, so I understand genome sequencing, and I'm reading the power of AI. So I'm learning that. In fact, I read my first book on AI, The Big Nine by Amy Webb. I read that 2 years ago, and then I'm reading about China. Can we talk about these things? Would you read some of these books with me and then come back and we could have a discussion about it? And some of the people said, yeah, I'd be interested. In fact, so I formed a Discord, and the Discord has grown to 17,000 people. Yeah, 17,000 people have come and shared some information with me. And then I said, hey, we got to bring this down to a tighter group and let's communicate on a daily basis. And I'll tell you what I'm doing and you tell me what you're doing. And would you be willing to pay $10 to be a part of this group? $10 a month. And 2,000 of them said, yeah. I said, okay, then would you be willing to sit down on Friday afternoons every Friday after the market closed and discuss what happened in the past and what we think is going to happen next week? And yeah, and a group of them do it. So we've been doing that. And so that's what I've done. I formed my own tribe. You'll find in this book, it was written by me and Colin George. Colin is a member of the tribe. He said, Kerry, I want to put in writing what you've been doing. We can either do it on a blog or we can write a book. And he says, and I want to write a book. So he wrote the book and with my assistance. So that's what the tribe is all about. And if you want to be a part of it, you just go to the address here, give me your name and whatever. So as I told you, this is the process. This is the step-by-step process that I go through to create my portfolio. And here's a picture of my portfolio. And now what I've done is I've broken it down into the 50% of the Google, Apple, Microsoft, and then I put it in for the medical. I also believe that there is going to be a lot of growth in the supply chain and cybersecurity and the metaverse. And so I've broken them down. And again, even though it says metaverse or it may say supply chain, in some way the 50% in Apple, in my big six, are involved as well. Because again, they've got the talent, they've got the skills, they got the experience, and they got the money. It's just like when what's his name? Mark Zuckerberg wanted Instagram. He just wrote a check for $2 billion. These two guys had only been in the business for 18 months. But Mark said, that's an important addition to my... He wrote a check for $2 billion. So if, in fact, any of these, Apple and Microsoft and Google, want to get involved deeper into the metaverse and want to go and buy IMMM, who is in the touch element of the metaverse, they'll just do it. So I want them as the anchors of my portfolio, but I have to be involved in change. I have to be a part of the medical. I call it the Medicure population. In fact, in the past, we had a medical care. That's what it's called, medical care. Medical care. It's now medical cure. We're not going to care for you if you're sick until you die, give you a pill and charge you for the pill every month. No, we're going to cure you. We're going to take that cancer out of your body. And we're going to take that heart disease and that Parkinson's. So I want to be involved in medical cure. I want to be involved in 3D printing. Although I'm eating my lunch on Desktop Metals, I believe they are going to bring the supply chain back to the United States. I have to be involved in the metaverse. I have to be involved in some way in electric vehicle. I'm looking a little deeper into the electric truck. I'm not real excited about owning automobile companies. And I know there's some of you who disagree with me entirely about it. Then I'm in cybersecurity, fintech, and then Netlist. And Netlist is a whole different subject. Do me a favor. Go to your Google and type in Netlist versus Google lawsuit. And you're going to see my face all over that page. I've jumped on this, and my tribe's going to make a buttload of money off of this. I'm already up 97% on it, and I believe I'm going to get up to 1,000% of it. Okay, that's my step-by-step process on how I pick stocks. If you'd like to be a part of it, you know how to do it. I'll be talking to you more this new year. I need to do a video in how to capture losses and how to avoid a, what is it called, a swap. Anyway, we'll be talking about taxes in the next couple days because we're running out of time If you're going to capture your losses, wash sale. We're going to talk about a wash sale. All right, be with you later this week.